Steve, you've had a good few days since Boxing Day between games. How much does that help at this time of year?
Well, it does. I mean, you know, I looked at it the other day and it was quite strange, really, when the Football League were playing games and we weren't. But then what you do is you revert back to the league table and you see how many games we've played and how many games they've played, and we're actually ahead of where the Football League is at the moment, you know. So I think when I worked it out the other, I looked at it and this is going to be roughly our 30th game of the season. So, you know, we've done a lot already if you include the cup games that we played in as well. So, yeah, it was nice to have that little bit of a break, and the boys had the weekend off, which was good, and we've been back to work for a couple of days since, and looking forward to the game on New Year's Day.
And obviously there was a bit of disappointment around after the Tamworth match with that equaliser being so late. Is that something that you can sort of get out of the players' systems pretty easily?
I think players are different to the managers or the coaching staff or whatever. I think that the disappointment was there, probably because we'd done so much work on that and seen it off and seen that problem off. I don't think that, you know, we'll be the only team that will succumb to it, and we haven't been the only team that succumbed to it this season. So we know it's a threat, which is why we worked on it going into the game. But, you know, human error. Sometimes someone can beat someone at something, whether it's a race for the free ball, whatever it is, you know, that can happen. And look, you know, they had enough throw-ins where they could have had perhaps 5 or 6 goals from it, and they didn't. So, you know, the lads are human, and what's going to happen is going to make mistakes at times. And I wouldn't say there was necessarily a mistake made from it. It's just a real difficult throw to defend. And they brought on Creaney, who's a big lad, and it overloaded us on that back post on that God-given moment, which is, I suppose, a little bit of the disappointment, because our subs were based on making us a lot bigger. But look, you know, we were a couple of minutes away from it, and you can't dwell in it. It obviously is a disappointment, because 90 minutes on the clock we were top of the league. So we know all about it, all the permutations. So it would have been nice, but, you know, as I've said before, it wouldn't have made any difference whether you're top of the league now or not. There's nothing being given out for who's top of the table now.
It's the old Brian Clough adage, isn't it? Only takes a second to score a goal.
Yeah, it does. For those of us that are old enough to know Brian Clough, yeah. But yeah, great guy. Plenty of wisdom in that brain, that's for sure.
In terms of preparing for Yeovil, obviously managed by Mark Cooper, who knows Forest Green well, but you'll have pitted your wits against, I think, when you were at Bristol City, he was at Swindon. What are his teams like to play against? Because he's got a certain way of wanting his teams to play, hasn't he? Well,
I've looked at them, you know, in a couple of games this week, and for me, they've mixed it up a little bit. So, you know, I think that's the art of it. You know, you've got to be able to mix your game up. You know, if you only play one way, you're easy to play against. So I'm not a big fan of this, you know, we've got to do it a certain way. I think you've got to be able to do everything. I really do. You look at Man City over the years. Don't tell me they don't do a bit of everything. Everybody talks about their great football. Many a time you would have seen their goalkeeper over the last 5, 6, 7 years, all of a sudden just get out of his feet and catch the striker's eye, and he's struck it straight in behind their back four, and all of a sudden the striker's gone and scored. So what do you call that? I'll tell you what I call that great football. If he's done that, you don't always need to pass it out. We've done both, and I've seen Yeovil do both this week. So it's not about that really. It's about how we do and what we do in the game, and how we can impose ourselves on it.
And also that gives you various different ways to win a match as well, which is important.
Well, I think one of the first interviews I've said when I came in here was many ways to win a football match. You know, sometimes it can be possession, you know, sometimes it can be counter-attack, sometimes it can be a set piece. It can be many things, many things, and that's the idea. That's, you know, you want to not your team to have a clear identity. As I've said before, your team needs to have a clear idea, because what happens when they all have a clear idea is you'll win more games than you lose. And invariably what you'll do then is you'll send your supporters home happy every week, which is what we all want to do.
You've got a big run of home games coming up now in January. How much can that help you?
Well, if the crowd are vociferous, very much for us, you know, we've been to plenty of hostile grounds this season, and what it does do is it influences decisions in the game, lots of things, and I don't think we've been on the good side of too many decisions this year, and we've gone away to grounds where we've had lots of decisions that have gone against us, and that's probably because of the surroundings. So, you know, all I would say to our supporters is back the lads, get behind them, no matter what. You know, we've gone to places where all of a sudden, you know, they're cheering a throw-in when we kick the ball out for a throw-in. That's what we need to get. We need to get, you know, like a good atmosphere going. I think the players deserve it, and I think they've earned it.
Are the Forest Green fans too nice, or do they just need to be louder?
No. You just said to me, what do you want it to be like? And I said, that's what I want it to be like. I'm not saying what they are and what they aren't. That's just how I would like it to be. Always makes it more difficult. Wherever you go, it makes it more difficult when the fans are right behind you and cheering every moment. And when you're a player in that arena and being cheered on every moment that you do something, it helps immensely.
I know you don't necessarily in the National League have the January transfer window, but other clubs higher up will be looking more at things now because the window's open. Do you expect any business in January? Are you still looking?
Yeah, we're always looking. Never not look. We're always looking. It's a very difficult one here with what we've got, what we've built, and interrupting anything. So for me, I think that whenever the window's been open at Forest Green, it's almost like they're compelled to bring in another player or two or three or four. I actually don't work like that. I would rather work with the players I've got, make them better, but if we do find that somebody becomes available to us that I think will not only be good for now but good for the future, or just good for now for a little while, then I no doubt the club would support me on that.
But personality of being able to fit into the group, absolutely crucial.
Well, not just personality, you know, I mean, you're a nice guy, but you're probably not going to play in the team for me, with all due respect.
I wouldn't even get on the bench.
Look, I didn't say that. I might put you on the bench. I might put you on the bench, but no, I don't. It's not just personality. They've obviously got to be a good player because they've got to come in and get the respect of the guys that are already here. So, personality helps, character helps. I'm a firm believer in that. You can't keep chopping and changing the dressing room every 5 minutes, and it's a good one. It's a happy one. They're all comfortable with each other. They have their moments. You know, we've had a couple of spats over the last couple of weeks on the training ground, but we always make sure that they shake hands and it's all done and dusted before they go in.
And that shows the care, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Jed Ward, some fans might be getting nervous about his position. How do you see his future?
How do I see his future? Well, I see him having a good future in the game, and I certainly hope so, because he's a lovely lad. I presume you're asking me that because of Bristol Rovers and recalls and all of that. Well, they have a recall anyway, Bristol Rovers. We know that, but I don't anticipate them recalling Jed this season. I don't anticipate that because he was with us with a view to being here for the season, but that was just in to cover them potentially if their goalkeeper, I think, got recalled. That's how that one would be. But I think their goalkeepers performed very well for Bristol Rovers this season, like Jed has for us. So, you know, if Bristol Rovers decide to do that, there isn't a lot we can do about it. However, I think their goalkeeper's playing pretty well, so I don't anticipate it. My gut feeling is Jed would like to stay and finish the season off. I spoke to his mum and dad in the last week. I think that they would like him to stay, which is always handy if you've got the parents on the side of a young guy. But I think he's happy, and I think he's enjoying it, and I think he's enjoying playing football on a regular basis. Whether Bristol Rovers want to recall him or not, I think if they look at probably the longer term for Jed, it would probably be better that he fulfilled 40 plus games this season, which he's liable to do with us. And look, if the unexpected happens, then we have to deal with that and try and maybe add. But as it stands at the moment, I don't anticipate them recalling him, because I think they let him go out on loan for him to gain the experience, whereas it's 20 odd games worth of experience, 30 including the cup games, which he didn't play in the cup games, all of them anyway. I think probably he'd be better, or they think he'd be better suited with 40 odd games under his belt. And like I said, their goalkeeper's played well this season for them, been one of their, I think, outstanding performers.
Thanks, Steve. Everyone who played on Boxing Day okay as well?
Yeah, a couple of bangs and bruises, a couple of nosebleeds, but other than that, we were all fine, yeah.